Hey, welcome back to Soda Time Restoration. We're back on the Vendo 23. Probably your last video you got. We were just putting the stage 3, I call it stage 3, it's a skim coat. We have now blocked that, have come in and done the 2K primer over the top. So a little bit, another step beyond, but man, it is looking super, super, super smooth. It is going to be super straight. There's the front door there. Tonight, we're going to focus on, and if you got a Vendo 23, and probably when you get this apart, you're going to see in the tub area, I call it the tub area, it's really not even the tub, it's just kind of the housing area where the tub actually sits, but most of the time, you're going to see a lot of rust out right here, because all the extra condensation is going to drain through that hole right there, and if that hole gets plugged up, if the inner tub gets a little bit of crack, it's going to have a little bit of rust outs like we've got here. So tonight, if you've never done fiberglassing, we're going to do a little bit of fiberglassing tonight. I'm going to spend a whole lot of time on it, but we're going to fiberglass this, get this all fiberglassed in. Once we get that set up and pretty smooth, we will then put a sheet of sheet metal over the top of that. So do you need to do this? Well, it's kind of nice because what it does, it cleans up the underneath part where you can go in and fill that in and make that nice and smooth. If you just put the sheet down on top of here, you're still going to have a few of these holes and they're going to show from the other side. We hope to kind of fill all that in, make it all look like everything has been taken care of and sealed off. But take you some material. They make it in a cloth and a mat. I'll get it straight. This looks like a definite cloth way the fiberglass is woven. And I always do just little pieces at a time so you're not doing a great big old piece. But wherever you want to lay your pieces in here, we're going to take and put the fiberglass over all the everything. We'll probably run fiberglass over the whole thing, and that will hopefully seal everything off, make it look really nice. And if there's any extra holes there, the fiberglass will fill that in, but this will give a little bit of seal off that whole area. But we're going to mix up a little fiberglass right now. I'm using a resin jelly. I'm using jelly, and when you see jelly, you're going to see the resin part of it is real thick, real thick. We'll open it up here so you can see it. This is part number 765 1241. You'll see a hardener that needs to go in there, and usually when you get it, it'll give you a lid. I use the lid for the mixing. You want to get it mixed up real good. Get you a throwaway brush and make sure, put on gloves. Don't do this barehanded because it is kind of messy and not easy to get off your hands after it gets set up. It gets very hard, sets up very stiff and hard to get off the skin. Now let's get us a little bit out of here. Mix about that much at a time when you do it, something about like that. This is usually done in drips, not very many. I might have put too much in there, but we're getting ready to find out. Mix it up really good. I'm just using a plastic spreader, something when you get done you just throw away. All right, let's go with that. And we'll do one piece at a time here. I usually put it down, get the edge started, and work it from from inside to the outside. Once that sets up, it is not moving. So a piece like that, and if you need to overlap, not a problem. Get all your holes covered up. If you mix it too hot, it'll dry out on you really fast, and you'll be making some more. But this was probably the good consistency here. Obviously should have made more, but I like doing a little bit at a time. You can use a brush, but in a flat spot like this, it works really nice just to spread it out with a spreader. Once you get the cloth all covered like that, you're good to go. Once that sets, you can paint over the top of that if you need to. I've already got a epoxy primer that was applied to this after sandblasting. Actually, I think it was a 2K that now Sherwin-Williams has now come out with in a DTM, which is a direct to metal, but we'll make another batch. looking pretty good. Once you get everything down, go to the inside. You might have a little bit of drippage going on. You can wipe that out right quick before it sets up too hard. We'll make a little bigger batch this time. Probably about like that ought to do it. I'm sure I'll be making more. Like I said, make sure you put gloves on. All right, let's put the rest of that one down. Couple of nights we'll be doing our last block on this and getting it ready for paint. That is always the fun stage of getting it back to some color on it. So we got one more block to do on this. I call it a finish block. So basically I've kind of went over this thing if you think about it. Got 3 stages in the bodywork stage, and then we block it one more time. And it's kind of a finished block. It's not like I'm using a soft pad. Everything is pretty flat right now. And at this point, with everything we got down, any extra fiberglass right now, I'm going to use anywhere on the tub where I might feel some imperfections. But it is looking really, really good. So we're gonna let that set up tonight. It's usually a pretty quick stage. I would say definitely do this. Take advantage of, while you got it apart, this is an area where you're going to catch always going to catch a little bit of moisture, and it's always the area that has the most issues is usually right here. But this should take care of this for many years down the road. I have seen it so bad that the plate was just totally gone, and sometimes then you just have to start totally over putting a complete sheet in there. So we'll be putting the first of we're using sealer on our finish one, the FS512, mixed 4:1. I'm doing it as a 2K series, and anytime you ever hear that 2K series, it just means we're using a hardener with it. But once that sets up and gets dry, you've got to put your base coat on. Do not let that set overnight. If you do let it set overnight and you don't get your paint on top of this, you're going to be scuffing it and ripping it. So anytime you plan on putting that sealer on, that paint needs to be getting on. That's sometimes within the next 3 to 4 hours. So check your data sheet on that. Make sure you get that on in the proper time. If you don't, that sealer will set up. It'll get like a piece of glass. You'll put your paint on and your paint won't stick on there. A lot of mistakes are made, especially in 100-degree weather. If it's probably even 80 or 90, those windows really ramp up really tight. So it might say 3 hours. You get closer to 100 degrees, it might be an hour and a half. You got to get your base coat put on there. So we're going to get started here. Shooting with the PPS gun tonight, 1.2. Probably, I'm going to say we're going to shoot this around 25 pounds. Probably is where it's recommended on that, but we'll get started. Okay, we're gonna let that set up and we'll be coming on with our base coat. Okay, we're ready to put the base coat on. We're using our gun. We have flipped to our new tip. It's 1.3, their newest tip. It is now able to shoot clear coat. It's called the Fine Finish. I'm using it for base coat tonight. It lays down very nice. So hang on, we'll get started. Hey, welcome back to Soda Time Restoration. Mark Cohen here. We're in the middle of the Vendo 23 in the final prep stage, getting ready for paint. So I'm going to show you a couple things today that we do. We're obviously got some lettering we gotta do on this machine. We'll be going over that in our next, probably maybe even in this segment, but I'll give you a shot of where we're at right now in the 23. The underneath plate, the spin top plate, front door with the ice cold, the drink Coca-Cola plate, and obviously the top lid. If you remember this machine, if you go back, this is a silver top machine. A lot of great info on this machine. Unfortunately, the areas that they've got some of the dating codes on it, and I've saved some of these areas, and I kind of always like showing, at least in video, hey, that was July the 15th, 1952. Obviously, when the plate goes back on there, that will never ever be seen again, but I saved those. I think we've got another one on, can't remember where we had it at. I got another date code. I don't remember where that was at, but I've got another date code on something. I can't remember what it was now. Maybe it's on the back side of this. Yeah, take this off so we can at least get a good visual of it. Once again, you know, once that gets covered up, obviously it'll be never seen again unless somebody takes it back apart again. But been a great project today. I'm going to show you my final stage before we put stuff in sealer, and especially since we'll be coming in, we'll be shooting our white on the face of this, putting our decal down. But I'd like to at least get that stage, get this in sealer today also. This will be in silver along with the top spin top. There's a lot of prep work always in these machines to get them super nice. This is probably one of the final stages I like doing. Probably you can go 600 or 800 on this particular one. Everything that you've done in body work, obviously covered in a 2K primer. Most of the stuff in the bare steel, make sure you get something that is a DTM, a direct to metal product. I know they make it now in the urethane. I know the epoxy is designed that way. So make sure if you got bare steel still showing, make sure you get something that's direct to metal. That way it gets good adhesion for that steel. But like today, we will do some final prep here. I like taking a little, I always do water. I know a lot of people say, why use water? It's just cleaner. I like the cleanness of it. It keeps your paper clean. But I've got 800 here, and if you want to, you could put a tracer coat down, but I've got this pretty smooth. There's no need to see it. Basically, I'm just wanting to reopen up the 2K primer, getting it ready for sealer. Always be cautious around your top of your embossed letters. You might get a few areas that breaks through. That's not a problem shooting. You just don't want to have a lot of bare steel showing. I'll use a Scotch-Brite pad. Try to use a gray on this stage. If you use a red, it might be a little bit aggressive at this point. Gray is probably 600-800 grit probably. But I like to get into these letters right now because this is really the last time you're going to be able to get into those areas and get that really smooth in there. It's hard to get paper in there and do a really good job. Scotch-Brite does really well. So that should feel extremely good right now. This is now ready for the sealer to go on. I will flip it over because when I shoot this, I will shoot sealer on everything. I'll seal everything off at the same time. So back side, I like to have just as nice as the front. Obviously on the back of a 23, especially the door series this one has, got a lot of little grooves. Use your Scotch-Brite pad and we'll get everything sealed up today. Let's get that wiped down. And I'll probably come in and re-wipe everything down one more time before we start putting any sealer down. But I like to at least get this super clean right now. That feels really good. Let's do our little embossed piece here. I'll do the same thing. Mainly going to be Scotch-Brite since we've got so many grooves. You know, most of your 23s, some had a fishtail on it, some had a little decal, but not too many of them had. I call it like a placard almost. with an embossed, very cool series for the Vendo 23. Might be all the ones I've done. I think this might be my first one to have this plate on there. I'm sure if something was going to get taken off of a machine, this would be one of the first things that would be missing. But if you look, there's different things they do, mainly in decaling. Let's go to the spin tops section here. Probably one of the tougher pieces to get really nice due to the back side of the spin top. These areas here, you will find get a lot of moisture in this area. Try to get it the best you can get it. Sandblasting obviously is about the only way to get really good and cleaned up, but I always try to pay a little bit more attention where the rusty areas are at, get good coatings on there, get a good epoxy or a urethane that's got direct to metal. Not a lot of urethane primers are DTM, so be cautious what you do there. If you've never done the lettering before, I will be using a vinyl overlay as a kind of a guide. I'll spray over that vinyl over the top of the vinyl, and then once I get my main color put on, I'll take and peel that vinyl back off. Gives really good lettering. If you don't have somebody that can do lettering for you, obviously that's probably the best. If your lettering is like mine, you're gonna definitely take good notes on what I'm doing, because it definitely makes it look like a very, very professional look to it. And then I clear over the top of it. So like I said, I'm using 800 on this final sand. Some people may say that's going a little bit to the fine side. Yeah, probably 600 is a good place. It depends on where I'm at in my finished sand. I kind of got to about 600 on one of my last sands, so that's why I'm going to the basically next phase. It's probably, for sure, I usually get to 3 coats when I'm doing body work. 3 block out stages. This one's probably gotten a little more attention as far as final sand, so probably an extra step there that I've done. I just like to get that body work dead on, and this one had a little bit of body work that need to be done, but nothing crazy. Nothing worse to get to a stage and then, yeah, I see something I missed, and then you got to go back. So it's always nice to get to this stage and everything sands really good. And our last piece, cover top on the spin top. Couple of white arrows that are on the top here. I think I'm going to try to do those by hand. They may have a decal available. I'm not for sure on that one. And sometimes they just leave them silver. They're embossed. They kind of do show rotation, but that's about it. All right, let me get switched up here and we will start on our sealer on all 3 or 4. Actually, these 4 pieces here, we'll put sealer down and then we'll get to a lettering. Hey, welcome back to Soda Time Restoration. We're going to the next phase. We're getting ready to put the sealer on. Probably 3 pieces, 4 different pieces tonight on the spin top, but hang on, we're gonna get this shot right quick, and once we get that done, we'll be moving into getting some lettering done. So hang on, we'll be right back. All right, we're getting ready to start shooting our sealer. I'm using the Valspar, the 102607511. That's a base coat, mixed 1-to-1. Shooting with my Sharp that has a 1.2 tip on it. I'll be shooting with the gun, or system, with the Sharp gun. So here we go. We'll let that get hand slick where you can just barely touch it, make sure everything's released. We'll probably end up putting at least a 2 to 3 coats down, but we'll wait a little bit here, get it hand slick, and we'll put another coat down. Okay, we're going to be shooting with our Finish 1 FC720, using the mid-range temperature hardener with that. Obviously that's mixed 4-to-1. Finish 1, probably can find that at your local Napa Auto Parts store. But we're shooting with our 3M PPS gun tonight with the new 1.3 fine finish tip. Those are just come out. If you're just coming across this video, this is 2025. First time I've shot with this tip many times already in the last 30 days. But man, it does great on clear coat. Very, very good. So hang on, we're gonna start spraying. First coat, and then a little carriage piece here goes inside the cabinet. We'll let this get hand slick. We can reach up there in a spot, and you don't want it to, if it's grabbing your light touch, means there's still solvents releasing. If you try to go back on that too quick, that's where a lot of people, you'll get some solvent pops. Putting on a layer and then putting another layer on top of that, and then that solvent's trying to escape, and that's how you get your solvent pops. But let it dry, be patient with it, get it to where it's hand slick, where you can rub across it, and nothing, if it doesn't grab your fingers, usually about 15-20 minutes. I think it's probably about 80 degrees in the shop tonight, so, but usually about 15-20 minutes. So hang with us here, we'll get another coat on. Hey, welcome back to Soda Time Restoration. As you can see, we're back on the finishing areas of paint on the Vendo 23. The main front door, the ID, I call it the ID plate, the emboss plate that goes on the front of the machine. Last night, if you're following along, there's the top. Man, it come out really good. Super happy with that. That is going to look beautiful on top of this nice Vendo 23. But tonight, if you want to follow along, obviously we're at the lettering stage. If you watch very many of my videos, you will see how I do the lettering on the machine. Most of these are going to be pretty simple. I always like cutting them out, getting a good edge on it so you can get them laid down right. And on these, do them a letter at a time. It'll be a lot nicer. Get your edges cut to where you can get it really laid down right on the edge. You don't have to do all of it, but at least get a good start on some of the areas. So when you do come back in, and make sure when it's going down, we'll do one here right quick. Getting pretty excited. I'm getting to this point. I always like getting past the paint stage and getting to the assembly part of it. That is got to be some of the funner parts of seeing it coming back together. Paint stage always a little long for me. I take probably way too much time on stuff, but you know, it's a little bit of time. If you're doing this yourself, take your time on it. Get all your paint work done good. It'll be a machine that you'll have for a long time. The Vendo 23 has always been one of my favorites, though. You can get most of your vinyl, especially Coca-Cola ones, from Funtronics. If it's a non-logo one, you might try also Soda Jerk Works, but Funtronics is the licensed Coca-Cola. They have pretty good, especially on your upright machines. I've done them on the chest type machines, Cavalier, Vendos, all those they have pretty good coverage on. So I always take, and like I said, cut those edges off pretty good, pretty close. Don't get into your lettering, obviously, we can really get it close so you can tell if you're laying it on the edge or not. These are pretty straightforward here, so I think we're going to have too much problem here. I've been asked many times, why don't you do the lettering? I've done lettering, and you'll probably see some of my past lettering. It is definitely something that it takes a lot of practice to be very good, and I've tried it and I'm just not very good at it. I do not have a very good steady hand, and I think that probably is a lot of it. I've had a lady here in town that I've had her doing some. She's kind of retired, and so I kind of had to go another direction just so I could get some of my production stuff done. And I kind of come around to doing the lettering this way. I get my white down, get the lettering down, get your vinyl down, paint over the top, which that'll be our next step tonight. We'll get everything off. We'll paint over this lettering, like right there. Didn't like where I had it down, so peel it back up. Let's get it where you want it. I don't push it down super hard at this point in case I need to go back and do some realignment. And just like that, pretty well got all the ice cold down. The drink Coca-Cola takes a little longer. Obviously it's got a lot of curves, and these are pretty straightforward letters. Matter of just getting them on there good and straight, balanced. We'll throw at least 2 to 3 coats of base coat then over the top of this. Always getting that peeled off is half the battle, I think. And then once we get the red down, pretty well just come right back and get the clear coat all in the same day. Actually, it doesn't take that long once you get things kind of rolling. Always watch your edges. So before you put your base down, your red base over the top of this, concentrate really hard on getting all your edges down. That's what gives it the sharpness of all your lettering. If you get one, we'll get everything sealed up today. The base coat blue underneath it. You can go in there and still repair that after the base coat. Once you peel it off, before you put your clear coat down, you can still do some little repairs. Go back on some of my other machines that we've done. Hopefully I'll give you a good idea. If you got somebody in town that can do the lettering, hey, let them do it. Nothing like a nice, complete, done by hand. Just works really. The look of it is nice. It's clean. All right, so ice cold is done. We'll go over each one of these and make sure everything is tight. We will flip over to the drink Coca-Cola right now. So a little bit of prep. If you shot your sealer on here, put your base coat down. Obviously now that sealer has dried, and it's the next day right now for me. So hey, way past 12 hours. So you need to do it correctly, and I've done this already. I have sanded this with 800 grit. I tried to level everything. I got into this real easily all around, tried to stay off my lettering, and then I come back in with a gray Scotch-Brite pad, Scotch-Brited everything, all the edges. Anywhere that sealer is at, it needs to be, what I call, needs to be reopened. Get that sealer back opened up and make sure it's ready to accept base coat now. So right now, this piece is ready for some base coat to be put on it. It's been sanded all the way to 800 on here. And you might check the company you're getting your sealer from. Finish one shows scuff it, and you do not have to recoat. Some companies say recoat. If they do, make sure you protect. Actually, I guess it really doesn't matter. You could go ahead and shoot some, well, you couldn't shoot 2K sealer over it. You'd have to shoot a 1K sealer over it, because if you shoot a 2K sealer over it, meaning it's got a hardener, you're going to have a little bit of issue getting your vinyl off the next day, because it's going to get really hard. So look at your sealer. If it says scuff and reshoot, that's the best. This one here is made by Finish One. Obviously it's a gray. I like using that gray tone under all my red. It just gives them the tone I really like in my Coca-Cola red that I use. But we're going to switch over here and go to the plate. Get a little closer here so you can kind of watch this one here. This one here you need to cut definitely really tight in those areas. Get it to where everybody can see it here. Alright, so get everything kind of cut out. I've seen people try to lay this down all in one shot. I've done it many years. I've never never laid one down all in one shot, just because I know these stamps on some of these embossings are a little bit off at times. So if you cut a little bit of pieces out, you got an opportunity to make some corrections by doing just the bottles. And I've even cut the bottle there at the T. I've tried to do a couple of them, you know, to get them to line up, but just to be on the safe side, I try to do most of it in sections. Like this C right here, I will definitely trim it really good and tight. I want to lay that down on that embossing just the best I can get it. I try to stay off of the lettering a little bit, just enough so I can see a guide of how things are going to go down. Seems like the time that I don't really pay good attention to detail on the cutting this out, it's when I need it the most, when I'm trying to see how that is getting laid down on top of that embossed lettering. This part here is probably the tedier part. Usually putting the decal on is not too bad. You got some things that you can do to help you while you're putting it on, but this one's really small, so I think it's going to be fairly easy. I try to always cut up inside there because that little hook right there sometimes needs you need a little bit something to give you a little extra curve sometimes, and cutting up into that housing of that C definitely helps. I'm sure Sean will be speeding me up here. He's saying I'm going too slow. That's all right. You don't need to see everything perfectly on all the cuts. Okay, get this little piece right here. That little leg sometimes causes trouble, I know. Just cut that little piece out too. Usually don't do those center ones. Get that outside edge lined up pretty good. It's usually a home run after that. Okay, there's a cola, the drink cut out. And if you want to try a whole row sometime, get you a good straight edge going on the top and the bottom. That way when you lay it down, you know you're straight across. Just don't push down too hard at first so you can make some corrections. There's a possibility that one can be laid all in one shot. It might take you an extra 10 or 15 minutes if you do the individual sections. This is always part of the machine that a lot of people look at, and they look at the detail, so I always like to really have it nailed really good. Some of these plates are kind of not totally flat, so that changes sometimes the pitch, how that letter lays on there. Might try to do this cola C on it separate. Usually when you're doing these, you're doing a bigger one. We'll be doing the Vendo 56 actually at the same time. So if you see anything in the background, we got the 39, the 23, and a 56 all going at the same time. Shooting different videos on each one has definitely been a challenge this summer, but hopefully we're all in the going together stage here in the next 2 weeks. Get all the paint work done is always kind of nice. I think everything's cut out right now, so let's see if we'll start with the drink here. Kind of gambling here right now. Let's see how good everything looks. It really looks pretty good. We're gonna give it a shot, see if we can do it all in one hit. I always like to rub this in really good. Make sure that paper is really contacted good. Heat it up a little bit. If it's an old decal and you're trying to reuse it, really massage that gasket pretty good. Get it kind of warmed up before you peel it off. Feel pretty confident, that's why I'm rubbing it in. Leave that backing paper on there, so you can rub on it without getting any oils on top of that right now. Not that it probably is going to matter, but it just makes it a lot nicer to be able to rub down onto that gasket with that paper back still on there. Now we'll go to the C, and you've heard me talk about if you can get your vinyl, especially if you're laying on white, if you can get it in red, it helps a bunch. That gives you that little bit of an edge so you can see the red going on top of the white. It just helps a little bit better. Not always can you get the color change though. In this particular case, this one here, I can only get it in a white. Usually try to tap this little circle on first and then look at your curvature, and this is where I talked about cutting that up in there. This gives you a chance then to lay this down and see how everything is going to hit on the decal then. Right there I want to come down just a little bit more. I like to have a little more, so I'll kind of pull this back, allow this to go out, just a little bit, get that curvature going outward ways, and then come back in. And if it feels like you're needing just a little bit more, which I feel like I do, I'm going to start it back just a little bit lower. Usually fairly easy to peel back off. Then come back down again. Look at your curvature one more time. As it comes back around, still feel like I need to come down some more. So what I was saying earlier, the C is the tougher one. This is the one that you want to get down fairly curvature. So we're going to go backwards. We're going to hit this piece here first and then come backwards. I say backwards compared to what I usually do on them, I know. Curve that just a little bit more this way. There we go. I like that a lot better. Hit that rib just right there. Kind of a critical area, I consider it. Then come back around. So on this particular one, I would definitely probably suggest starting on the leg and working back up. It feels really good right there. Probably one of the tougher letters to do. I'm getting ready to find out. Every time I say it, it's always something different, but we'll come back and get this plied down a little tighter. It can be put down all in one shot. Takes a little time. So 47 minutes. I'm sure Sean's got it sped up, but right now we're at 47. We'll peel these backer plates off and we will get the red shot over the top of this tonight and hopefully get some clear on. So bear with us. I'll be right back. All right, we're going to the next step, getting ready to put our base coat down. So the vinyl is all down. We've shot our white and base coat. The vinyl is down. We'll have vinyl on both the main door that will be shooting over in a red. So hang on. We're gonna get this step done tonight. Tomorrow we'll come in, peel that vinyl off, hopefully show great sharp lettering. And after we get that peeled off, it'll be ready to put some clear on. So right now we're gonna get these two pieces done, and tomorrow night we'll come back, peel that off. I always like waiting at least a day. Don't wait too long. Get it off the next day. But here we go. When you're doing that, put light coats down. Don't try to just hammer it all on there in one shot. Get your first light coat down on base coat and get your coverage light coats at a time. Okay, we are getting ready to pull the vinyl off. I have taken, and actually on this base coat, I've done a 800 grit sand, also done Scotch-Brite. So just so we've kind of taken that base coat and just reopened up, take some dust nibs off, but we're ready to start pulling the lettering on it. So here we go. We'll start on the ice cold here to begin with. There we go. I kind of always little bit dig into the vinyl part. You got to be cautious so you don't tear all the way through, but that gets it a start to get your vinyl going. Looking pretty good. If you do dig your fingernail into that base coat, very easy to touch up. So don't get too annoyed with the tear into that base coat. That base coat is very soft. We haven't put any clear on it, obviously. If you've taken and putting clear over your vinyl right now, you're not going to be a happy camper because it is not going to come off. If somebody has done that and trying to get their vinyl off, it would, if you got some pictures of it, how it come off, I can't imagine it'd come off very good. There we go. Pretty good. We'll probably like right that little area there. I got my nail into it. We'll just bump that with a little bit of red base coat. Won't take much. Very, very clean, sharp, good looking lines. We'll come over to the Coca-Cola, and these are so small. to find that starting point is always so tough when you get a little bit smaller, but still very clean. Not sure how the videos, how they're going to be put together. Obviously, we're shooting a bunch of different video right now on all three machines that we're doing. So trying to focus as much as we can on the 23 right now. But yeah, it's going to be nice. It's going to be nice. Pretty nice. Maybe a little bit of touch up on that little loop right there. A little bit of paint. Probably got my fingernail on that one. Not bad. The start's always the tougher part. My apologies if I keep pulling this away from my camera. Trying to do this as close as I can so you can see some of the work. Very, very small letters. There's them bottles. I miss my center piece between the Coca-Cola. So you're gonna get to experience a freehand. Be very easy, it's an easy one to do, but I flat missed putting hey, I don't see my square there. I did not put it on. A little late now, but it'll be good to show how we'll touch up a few things and get that done using a little base coat. Looking good so far though, man. Takes a little bit of time. We're not too bad. I don't know if John sped this up, but at this point we're about 14 minutes into both peel offs when we started on the other one, so not bad. Not for what we're seeing in the ending result here is going to be very, very nice. Part of the battle is getting it started. As you see, the lines are tremendously nice. Try to definitely always do it the next day. I'm sure the vinyl, I've done and waited sometimes a day or maybe even got into 2 days, and that didn't work out too good. It was coming off in pieces. It come off, but man, it would not peel off like this. It was rough. Little piece break off, but I can't remember. I think on the video I might have said it was 2 days. It may have been 3, but I waited way too long. I'm sure that vinyl is getting softer each day. It doesn't hold its strength as good. So if you remember when I said to put your vinyl down, make sure your edges are really down tight. Show you a little spot here that obviously I know I went around each edge and tried to get it down, but as you can see, a little bit of a lift right there where that decal did not set quite the way I'd want it. But we'll go in and touch those up. And there we go. Pretty good. As you see, a little spot right there, a little touch up there in the white. Flat missed a few things in the edging there, but nothing that we can't get correct. But wow, the lines are just very nice. All right, well, hang on. We're gonna get things cleaned up and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back. Doing the final stage. We just did some touch-ups and realized I didn't get the video on some of the touch-ups, but I'll give you some of what the plate's looking like. The drink Coca-Cola in bottles, the silver top, get those two all in clear coat tonight. And the last piece, the front door with the ice cold on it, will really come out nice. So hang on, we're gonna put 2 to 3 coats down, is my normal fashion on all my exterior stuff. So hang on, here we go. We'll let that get hand slick on each item. Kind of see laying out really nice there. Looking really good. Man, doesn't that look great? Did the clear coat last night. We're yet to have a cut and buff on this, but hey, hang on. The process, the next steps are going to be putting this Vendo 23 back together. But thanks for staying with us. I think as far as the Vendo 23, once we get all the cut and buffing done and then going back together, obviously the compressor, we'll be redoing that. But hey, thanks for hanging with us. Hopefully the next segment we'll be coming back and putting this Vendo 23 back together. So hey, thanks for staying with us, and we'll catch you on the next one.